Okay, back in action with the Panther III from Monkey Rabbit. It's been probably about 3 weeks since I've been out on vacation and busy with other stuff. So now back on the saddle again. We're gonna, next step here is going with pure Buff XF57 from Tamiya, dry brushing. You know, you have the base, you have the shading on the edges. Curious, this stain here, I don't know where that came from. I'll check later. But basically, it's going over all the edges with the Buff. Again, as I mentioned before, it might look too dramatic at first, but it gets toned down with the other steps. Anything that has an edge, any bolt, I would say it's like a normal application, you know. I'm not sure if the video is picking it up, but probably there it is. Again, no need to be worried that it's too dramatic. You can later go over it, tone it down with oversprays, but this kind of defines the edges a little bit as you move along with the different layers of weathering. Here I may go a little bit heavier. It's got some not accurate grading here. It's like, instead of the tread plate, it's got, let's call it like chicken wire added there. So it gives it a little bit texture. Better than nothing, really. Not really prototypical, but as with many modeling situations, you know, you add detail and it looks fine, whether the detail is completely accurate or not. Okay, so there you get an idea with the less paint on the brush. I go aggressive on the side visor. Go over all the, again, any bolt, edge, anything, go over with the Buff. Be back later. Okay, further down the line here, again, I just went over all the edges, went pretty aggressive on the grading, on this chicken wire I mentioned before, to bring it out, give it some variety, give it some texture. Remember, usually it's very tough to dry brush with acrylics. What I do is, when I dip the brush back in the paint, I get a lot of paint on the brush, end up wasting a lot of paint, but then you clean it, and as you're cleaning the brush after going in the paint, you're making the brush non-sticky and removing any old paint. Figured out what that grease spot was. It's from one of the bearings that the turret has to to make it roll around easier. So it apparently had some oil there, but it doesn't show. Let me give a run around here. This small light, when I went by with a brush, basically exploded. So you gotta be careful. These 3D parts are not, I'll be very careful with this one also. They're not very sturdy. So again, this is my first 3D printed vehicle. Should never say never, but probably my last. It's I rather, you know, work with more durable materials. Again, you see how I just went over all the edges, pretty dramatic on the edge here. Look how that toolbox from Armor Packs comes alive. Again, as it dries, it gets toned down a bit. Let me do a full go around. Here's the rear of the vehicle. All these hatches open, so it makes it easier to get the buff on the edge. Instead of going over and hoping it sticks on the edge, you just open it and go over the edge. Same here, so it's helpful. I don't care for the hatches. I'm not gonna do any interior detail. Might actually glue them at a later date, just to make it sturdier, because if moving around one day this thing moves, it can be ripped out, and I'd rather it be safe and together than being able to open it when I'm not gonna have anything inside. Here the turret will go back on. You can see a little bit of the difference between where I went with a buff on the edges and where I still have not. More later.